Well, shalom, family, and thank you so much for joining us for this week's weekly news updates. Always a pleasure and a privilege when we get together with you. And I'm always thankful when I see enthusiastic people in the chat ready to get together with their brothers and sisters. I just love that. That was really awesome. So thank you for that. I appreciate the enthusiasm. I'm super grateful for all of you who join us for these weekly updates. And again, I say it every week, but I think it bears repeating. We know that a lot of people disconnected from the news, and that's not a healthy thing, guys. Complete disconnection from everything going on, that's not so smart. But I also understand that it's too much to get it all the time, right? So we all figured that one out. So what we did was we came up with this weekly pace, and I believe that it has turned out to be a really, really good pace for us. And it allows us to, again, something we like to say, be informed without being overwhelmed, because you get too much information and it gets a little bit too much, right? So we don't want too much. That's not where we want the too much to be. We want to get too much. It's not there. All right. Everybody with me on that? All right. And then we do have this wonderful website, Labor of Love by the team here at Remnant House. And we're certainly grateful for the work that goes into these things every week. Okay. So, folks, don't take these things for granted. And please continue, if you are supporting this house, please keep doing that. We really, really need you, especially right now. It's a really tough time out there, right? So people are starting to change their patterns. We need your help more than ever. And so thank you for those of you that help make that possible. And this is where we, of course, have all the stories that we're going to talk about here. And we have these handy guides for survival in the event that you're going to see emergencies. And we do have this search bar for past stories in the event that you are just now catching up and you might be going back on some of our older weekly news broadcasts. Just to keep up with what's going on and sort of take a look at trends. So that helps a lot. And I'm really grateful for that. So great job on that. And how many are grateful that we don't have a bunch of pop-ups? How many like that? I personally, every time I have to do news, I have to go through all these websites with all these crazy pop-ups and all this crazy stuff. And I got to tell you, I'm not a fan. All right. So, and on that note, let's get into the news. And tonight's top story is a doozy. President Trump is now issuing a terrifying warning that is now coming out, and he is issuing a NATOM airspace warning, which is, of course, a warning as B-52 nuclear bombers conduct attack demo. Venezuela's crisis is increasing, folks. The United States has issued a terrifying new warning for the airspace around Venezuela as Donald Trump dispatched a B-52 nuclear bomber for an attack demo. The Federal Aviation Administration sent out a notice to air missions and 1:08 p.m. Eastern Time, alerting pilots, airlines, and air traffic controllers of a potentially hazardous situation in and around Venezuela. I think they are definitely letting the government of Venezuela know they are not thrilled. And how many think this is a very foreboding situation that we have found ourselves in? And so a very, very dangerous time. And I do believe that we need to be sober people in this hour. How many know that there's a tremendous amount of pressure out there? And this is when things crack. So, how many are seeing people under pressure and behaving in very odd ways? So this is very dangerous information as the U.S. has issued a terrifying new warning. How many of you believe we're about to go to war? It's looking that way. It's looking like they want to do some business in South America, folks, and that's not a good sign for that part of the world. So if you're down in the southern South America, rather, and you're in that theater of operations, be aware. And we do have a few people that, well, they may be watching us. I'm not sure from that part of the world. You never know. And so we certainly want you to be warned so that you do not fall victim to some of these things that are happening. I'm just moving a couple of these stories here, folks, because I got so many of them that I'm not even sure I'm going to get through them all. So let's fly here. We've got a few other things that we need to cover, and that's really, really happening right now. That's a lot of interesting things are happening. But one thing that I thought was really interesting, just throw this in here. The Border Patrol is doing something very unusual. So they're monitoring U.S. drivers and detaining those with what they consider to be suspicious travel patterns. Did you guys know about this? So yeah, if you're going in and out of the southern border, you might just be detained for suspicious travel patterns. Apparently, the U.S. Border Patrol is monitoring millions of American drivers nationwide in a secretive program to identify and detain people whose travel patterns it deems suspicious. Suspicious of what? Don't know. The predictive intelligence program has resulted in people being stopped, searched, and in some cases arrested. A network of cameras scans and records vehicle license plate information, and an algorithm flags vehicles deems suspicious based on where they came from, where they were going, and which route they took. Federal agents, in turn, may then flag local law enforcement. So they're now using some of this technology to police. Very dangerous time, folks, as we're starting to see more and more effect of those kinds of things that are happening right now. So it's something that I'm personally quite concerned about when they start using tech against people, because you are not subject to tech. Tech does not have jurisdiction over you. People, you can say you gave jurisdiction because you could say that, but to technology, it's a dangerous, slippery slope, folks, that we're walking down. And things are changing in the Middle East for something that we certainly keep an eye on, an area of the world that we keep an eye on. And one of the things that we're really concerned about, of course, is the things that are happening in Israel. And so right now, that peace plan that the president was all gung-ho about, it looks like it's falling apart, folks. As a matter of fact, it's Hamas is saying it's ready to fight. Hamas is reportedly saying it's pulling out of Gaza ceasefire over alleged Israeli violations. So he wants to go back to fighting. I don't know what kind of sanity they got going on there, but okay. Hamas has warned U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner that I didn't know Jared Kushner was a U.S. envoy. So there you go. Same guy that in 2013 sent out some interesting invitations. So there's that the Gaza ceasefire is over and they are ready to fight. Sources told Saudi state-owned media in Al Arabiya. The Jerusalem Post is reporting the terror group Bauface comes after an Israeli strike on Gaza Saturday took out Hamas's chief of weapons supply, and al-Hadi, which it slammed as a violation of the U.S.-backed ceasefire. So Israel just continues to hit their targets in the Gaza area. So this does not look to me like we've got ourselves a real peace deal. How about you guys? You guys think that's a real peace deal? Because it looks to me like it fell apart. And so, of course, we see the report that Israel did launch strikes in Gaza in the ceasefire's latest test, as the hospital says it killed 24 people. So this was on Shabbat. Israel's military on Shabbat launched airstrikes against Hamas militants in Gaza in the latest test of the ceasefire that began on October 10th. As Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said, his 5 senior Hamas members were killed. So much for a ceasefire. When you're starting to kill leaders of the other side after you claimed a ceasefire, I'd say that ceasefire is over. So there's definitely going to be more and more conflict coming for the Middle East. So much for that effort. And it's very disappointing, folks, because how many know that we really just, not for nothing, but we just didn't want to see any more children die, right? So we don't want to see any more conflict. But this world seems to be hell-bent on conflict. And so, as a matter of fact, there's conflict even within the United States. Did you know that there were Democratic lawmakers urging troops to disobey illegal orders? Yes, as a matter of fact, they're now going to be investigating some of the cabinet members, former cabinet members, that may have done that. Half a dozen members of Congress who previously served in the military intelligence community are urging service members and intelligence officials to disobey illegal orders that may be issued by President Donald Trump's administration. And so this is now becoming a thing. In fact, Kelly, remember him, General Kelly, that they had a couple of administrations back? Well, now he's going to be under federal review. I guess the Pentagon is saying they're going to be looking at him for criminal charges because he was inciting soldiers not to obey. So no one has to carry out orders that violate our law or our Constitution. They said, no, know that we have your back. Don't give up the ship. I'm not sure what that means. And that you're asking military people to basically mutiny. That's an incredibly dangerous thing to be doing, especially in the public sphere. So I wouldn't be surprised to find some of those congressmen or Congress people facing military correction. Okay, and that's a very high likelihood because they're not exempt. And what they've just done was potentially a crime. Just saying. Inciting mutiny is potentially a crime. So I mean, it's a very dangerous thing to see that in the news. And it goes to show you that there are many, many things going on right now that are not good in our country here in the United States and in the world as a general, in the general world, if you will. And so this is a big deal. And we're seeing continuous changes going on in that area. As a matter of fact, one of the things that I believe is a really, really big deal is that Saudi Arabia is not playing ball with the Israelis on the Gaza program. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to pop this open. The Saudi prince just reported the Saudi prince told Trump that he wants to join the Abraham Accords, but only with a Palestinian state. So Saudi Arabia has now drawn its line and is siding with the rest of the Arab world, which I believe is very much in support of there being a Palestinian state. And again, this is something that Netanyahu has already said is not going to happen west of the Jordan. So Saudi Arabia has signaled a renewed interest from informal ties with Israel during Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's meeting with President Donald Trump at the White House on Tuesday, making the heir's first visit to Washington in 7 years. Now, according to U.S. officials, the Crown Prince told the president that Riyadh wants to be part of the Abraham Accords, but also ensure a path to the two-state solution. So, after the talks, President Trump briefed reporters on the discussion and saying there was prospect of an agreement between Israel and Saudi Arabia received a positive response from the Crown Prince. Well, yes, based on what he said, though. So again, sometimes we can be overly optimistic and say, oh, things are going to be great. Did you hear what he said? Did you hear what the man said? The man made his statement, and now we've got to live with that. Oh, no, it's going to work out great. It's going to work. Well, how are you going to talk the Israelis into a two-state? Oh, everything's going to be great. We're going to have a great time. Look at the way they write these stories. It's like everything's great. No, everything's not great. The Saudi prince, who's essentially the leader, told him point blank, we'll be happy to reconnect, provided there's a second state, which they've already said they'll never do. So I guess this is never going to happen. See that? That was easy. So they basically just manipulated everybody into making them think that, there's something positive going on here. There's nothing positive going on there. They have not changed their attitudes or thoughts one bit. And so this is going to continue to be a challenge going forward. And I just say that because I know a lot of times we get optimistic, we get to hopeful, we get to thinking, we get to hopeful, and we get to thinking maybe, just maybe, we might see some peace for a while. Well, unfortunately, that fell apart. And so, again, Hamas has already made its declaration, I guess, and it's going to go ahead and continue its conflict with Israel. So plan on more bad news coming from that part of the world. And again, we knew that was coming, but it's still sad to see. Now, I don't know if you knew about this, so I'm just going to throw this in there because this was kind of an odd story, but it kind of leads me where I'm going. So stay with me, folks. This was an interesting story. Did you hear about this police chopper that was forced to take emergency evasive action? The police chopper was forced to take emergency evasive action after being targeted by a UFO over U.S. airspace last year, on reports reveal. Now, I've been ignoring their whole UFO euphoria all fall and all summer because I saw through a lot of it. But this is interesting that they're doing this sort of double down. So now that they're making this sort of the thing, they're not going to back up. Well, then we got to talk a little bit about this. Personally, I think there's a lot of manipulation going on here. Okay. But the fact that this is going mainstream was something that was prophesied in 2014. In 2014, we got a word that this would happen. And so at the time, could you imagine me sharing? Can you imagine, guys? I'm saying to everybody, hey, by the way, did you know UFO coverage is going to go mainstream? 2014. I want you to just think about that time period. Go, oh yeah, you probably look crazy. You look goofy. You look cuckoo. right? Right? Who would have thought? Would you have thought that you were going to be seeing these kinds of headlines? Okay. Police chopper was forced to take emergency evasive. Would you believe that if 11 years ago? In that time period, if you go back to that time period, go back to your Facebook, that time period, you're going to go, yeah, that would have been hard to believe. And now look, it's everywhere. As a matter of fact, did you see this latest thing? A documentary came out. And it was saying that President Bush, this is why I'm talking about this, guys, because they're seeding a narrative for a reason. So we need to be aware of the narrative being seeded, if nothing else. Okay. So President George Bush, apparently, this just came out, he knew of 1964 alien contact with humans in New Mexico, according to a documentary. So now they're pointing this out. The truth is out there, and the late President George Bush apparently knew it, telling a federal official that an alien made contact with humans at a secretive New Mexico airbase in 1964, according to testimony in an explosive new documentary. And so, yeah, I don't look cuckoo now, right? But at the time, they probably thought I was nuts, okay? And that was a word I got from Jehovah. So I knew that would come to pass, and so we would see it manifesting. And it was one of 10 things, actually, that was on a list, and 9 of the 10 have already happened. So that was an interesting thing. And how many find that a little odd, right? We're going to touch on that story again. We're going to be coming back to it. But before we do, I want to get into some of these things that are happening right now on these servers and things that are happening throughout the computer world. Pardon me. Cloudflare has got an outage causing error messages across the internet. U.S. companies that defend millions of websites against malicious attacks says it believes the issue is resolved, but is it? Excuse me. And so Cloudflare is a key piece of the internet's usually hidden infrastructure. And it suffered a global outage on Tuesday, which, of course, I believe was an attempt by nefarious forces to get through Cloudflare for the things that it protects. So remember that. And, of course, testing its ability to take it down. Some site owners could not access their performance dashboards. And now you may think this is a minor thing, but internet interruptions cause massive economic problems. And not only that, they cause cost situations. So not only do you have a revenue decrease, you also have a cost increase when these things happen. So this is very much a serious thing. And I do believe that we're going to continue to see more and more outages. And as a matter of fact, NBC News is agreeing with me. So there you go. So, severe internet outages keep happening, and they might get worse. And I think there's a couple of different reasons why growing reliance on a handful of major internet infrastructure companies has led to major disruptions, sparking everything from political pressure to computer science memes. And again, for those of you that don't know this, these are data centers, and data centers use a ton of power. Okay? Look at this. These are data centers. I want to take a quick look at a data center so you can see what they look like. Hold on. There we go. There we go. There we go. There's a data center. Oh, no, that's Amazon. Okay, there's a data center. See that? All these wires and stuff. Okay, well, they got these big buildings that they power, right? And that's going to be another problem that the country has. They're not sure of. And it's not just you. Internet outages severe enough to disrupt everyday services for many people have become more frequent and wide-ranging, experts say. And when internet service company Cloudflare crashed Tuesday, prompting significant hours-long disruptions at companies ranging from X to OpenAI to Discord, it was the third major internet outage in the space of about a month. And so while there's plenty of finger pointing to go around, 2 things are clear. Popular consumer businesses increasingly rely on a handful of giant companies that run things more cheaply in the cloud. And when one of those companies isn't extraordinarily careful, an obscure software vulnerability or a tiny mistake can reverberate through many of their customers, making it seem like half the internet has been unplugged. Well, it sort of was, because if you have a layer that everybody got talked into putting, well, next thing you know, you've got yourself a challenge, right? So Certainly something that we are aware of and something that we should be smart about, because I got to tell you, folks, um, this AI thing, well, it just ain't what you think. Just saying. So it's something that we're going to talk about more and more as we go. And I also want to encourage you all in this area with the digital IDs. This is a very dangerous thing that is going on. They're trying desperately to make you subject to certain things. So you're going to have to read through the lines. There's only so much I can tell you, but you need to be really careful right here. So Apple Wallet could add digital IDs in these 2 states soon, and 2 states have already agreed to it. Arkansas and Virginia are committed to the Apple Wallet digital ID support. This is walking people into a digital, I don't want to say prison, but definitely a control matrix. Okay, how's that? More? That's better, maybe? Better word? A control matrix? That's about better. And I think that's one of the dangers that this presents. Apple Wallet recently released or launched a new digital ID feature using passports, but support for state driver's licenses continues to grow too. And 2 new states have now pledged support for the venture. So they're supporting this private venture. After a slow start, Apple's Wallet digital ID, the same guys that put, those wristbands on everybody. And they've previously announced that they're, previously announced several U.S. states have committed to offer digital IDs, including Connecticut, Kentucky, Oklahoma, Utah. Okay. Now, I don't think they're going to get that passed here in Arizona, but you never know. And it just goes to show you that the state you're living in is not a joke, folks. And you are under jurisdictions in these different states. A state is a country. And so you have very, very strong power in those countries. You need to be careful. And so they're going to be giving more and more of that power, by the way, to AI. What could go wrong? Everybody say Judgment Day. Just go ahead. What could go wrong? How about Skynet? Why don't we turn that on? Why don't we turn that on? Yeah, Skynet. That sounds like a great idea. Apparently, these kids did not watch any of our 1990s movies. We need to have a little bit of a, they're clueless. Look at this. Young adults would give AI broad government powers over speech and religion. Are you kidding me? A little over 4 in 10 young voting age adults are in favor. Are you nuts? Of giving artificial intelligence broad government powers, according to a recently released survey. The Heartlands Institute, Glenn C. Haskins Emerging Issues Center, and Rasmussen reports announced on Wednesday the findings of a poll taking 1,496 likely voters aged 18 to 39 with a margin of sampling of plus or minus 3%. And so according to the study, 41% of respondents said they support giving an advanced AI systems authority to control public policy-making decisions. I'm going to read that again. An advanced AI system authority to control public policy-making decisions. Okay. The sizable minority in favor of AI controlling policy decisions included 55% who self-identified as conservatives and 54% respondents between the age of 25 and 29. So we're not talking about a bunch of 18-year-old kids, and there are conservatives in there who are clueless about what they're actually agreeing to. Once again, making themselves, without you noticing the clever trickery here, subject to technology, making you below it. Do you understand? So that you now have to submit yourself to the tech. Just watch what's happening here, folks. If you don't think you need an active and intelligent defense against what they're building, there's a certain level of cuckoo that I can't help you with. And as far as I'm concerned, sitting in their mochaccino world while they're wrapping a digital wall around you, it's not wise, in my opinion. And that's probably all I'm going to say about that. It's not wise. I don't believe it's wise. Okay? But if you listen to Elon Musk, everything's going to be wonderful. It's going to be beautiful. Elon Musk says Optimus robot will replace jobs and enable universal income. So you're good. Don't worry about it. You know what universal income is going to be? Welfare. But don't worry about it. It's universal income. See how they make it sound so great? Don't they make it sound great? Welfare is going to be coming your way. Don't worry, everything's going to be fine. What could go wrong in a capitalist society? Wow, great deal. And so Elon Musk, CEO of Tesla, has predicted that the company's humanoid robot Optimus could revolutionize the global economy if it significantly reduces the need for human labor. And there is truth to that. I mean, after all, if you can put a robot to work doing physical things, why not, right? That makes sense. However, if you don't give people a job somewhere else and they're taking jobs away, we have a problem, folks. Despite the technological challenges surrounding the robot's production, Musk's ambitious vision for Optimus continues to unfold. Although not yet ready for mass production, Tesla has demonstrated its capabilities at events, including handing out candy at Halloween and performing kung fu with with an actor, I guess. So during a recent Tesla shareholder meeting, Musk expressed confidence in the robot's potential to eradicate poverty, stating Optimus will actually eliminate poverty. Now, I have to agree that AI has some tremendous capability, and it should be used for such things. Unfortunately, it's being used for the opposite. What I have witnessed is impoverishing, and I've witnessed blocking and preventing people from actually utilizing it for financial liberty. So there is a tremendous amount of counter messaging going on. There's a message that's going out in the public, and there's a message that's really being transmitted through the tech itself. They're not the same. So that's what makes me go, really? You want to give this control over the government? What could go wrong? Great plan. Let's just do it. Yeah, it'd be awesome. Let's do it. Everybody on board. Jump on board. Okay, because hey, the unelected Elon Musk has told everybody that it's in 10 to 20 years, work will be optional and money will be irrelevant thanks to AI and robotics. And I'm not disagreeing with him, but there's in the sense that if the only thing you're thinking about is economic elements, there are tremendous things that are happening right now in that sphere. However, are we still not going to need food pulled out of the ground? Are we still not going to need somebody pushing a broom? Are we still not going to need somebody wiping windows and cleaning floors and building things and putting plumbing in or carpentry? Are we going to give the robots all the jobs? Is that where we're going? Because if that's the case, then maybe they can pull that off. Maybe that's why they don't feel like they need people, because they're going to get robots. Maybe the robots are going to vote too. We're going to do that. We're going to get the robots to vote. Maybe the robots will show up to vote, but because they're robots, nobody wants to talk to them. I don't know. This is getting crazy, folks. And it's getting crazy because we have insanity that's gone to seed. So we're going to switch gears here, because here's where the insanity is hitting. The rubber's hitting the road. Okay. It's what I tried to tell you guys a while ago. I'm having a little fun with this, but it's real. And that's that because people are not aware of the change that's going on in the economy, they are being severely affected by it. How many know people right now that are economically suffering? And I mean suffering, because they either can't find employment or the employment they can find is insufficient. How many? Vast majority of people know at least one or two people that are in serious economic situations right now because of the employment status that is going on in the United States. And the reason why there's a big change going on, folks, is something that you guys all pretended wasn't going to be here. Now, I'm not saying you particularly, but in general, us as the believers, we kind of take a head in the sand kind of attitude. And unfortunately, that doesn't work. It didn't work in the 80s. It didn't work in the 90s. It didn't work in the 20s. It's not going to work. You got to be aware of what's going on around you, and you have to adjust accordingly. Okay, so more Americans are now getting their power shut off. Why? Because the economy is shifting. And if they don't adjust, they're going to all become homeless. So this is a bad situation here, folks, because people are losing badly. Basically, the power situation, they want to tell a story. This is what I don't like about MSN. They always want to tell it like it's, they want to try to be all folksy. The bottom line is there's a power outage issue or a power payment issue, and it's never been this bad. So when we talked about the cars being repossessed, this is just the issue that's also now coming up, is that people can't pay their electric bill. And it's becoming, eat or pay for the electric for a lot of family. I mean, it's gotten to that point, folks. We are not in a good place in the nation. And something else I told you about and that I asked you about, I said, have you done the math on the beef? Have you done it? Because I did. I even asked Chat GPT. I said, yeah, you can do it. Come on, you're an AI. You're supposed to be running the government. You certainly know these things. How much ground beef was sold in the United States last year? I remember asking this question. I still have the printout. And it told me, when it started adding fast food, institutions, restaurants, and grocery sales, and all the other packaged foods that include ground beef, everything else was made in the United States. They came up with a total of 38 billion tons of beef. There's only one problem. One problem that I pointed out. Okay. The United States only produces between 16 and 20 billion tons of beef per year. Where the beef? What? So that wasn't just what was produced, it was also including what was imported. So we got what's produced plus what's imported doesn't equal what was sold. Once again, the math just didn't math. What was produced plus what was imported did not equal anywhere near what was sold. So where'd the other 20 billion tons of beef come from? And what is it? We're starting to find out there's some serious things happening. All right, we're asking, I hope you're asking new questions. You should be, and I wouldn't be eating any of that fast food, by the way, just saying. So here's an interesting story that kind of makes the point. Because Tyson Foods is to close major U.S. beef plant. Why? Why are they getting rid of beef plants? Why? Look at their reason that they're telling you. They will close a major beef plant in Lexington, Nebraska, with about 3,200 employees in January. So that's another 3,200 people out of work. Supplies dropped to their lowest levels in nearly, what does this say? 75 years. So you got the meat supply of 75 years ago is what you've got. The closure in the heart of cattle feeding country signaled that supplies, will remain tight, forcing meat packers to pay steep prices for cattle and process into steaks and hamburgers, right? So is the pressure great to come up with alternatives? You betcha. And I bet you know where it's coming from, Bill Gates. Right? I bet you know where that stuff is coming from, right? So there's all kinds of stuff that we're going, oh man, I'm not eating that. All right. So just be aware that because of the economy and the things that are happening, there's some dangers you may not have considered. Here's another one that you might not have considered. Again, I want you to be informed so you're not overwhelmed, right? Now, how many of you don't think anything of it because you don't maybe keep these feasts or these holidays anymore? So you might not think anything of driving out of there with a bunch of groceries. They don't know that you're not. They don't care about that. Be careful out there, okay, folks? Because there's mass thieves in Southern American crime ring, and they're looting homes in a coordinated pattern. And they're also robbing people at grocery stores. I'm going to get to that here in a minute. But the suspects enter through wooded backyards, steal jewelry, designer bag, cash from affluent neighborhoods. So again, the wealthy are being attacked. And a wave of high-end residential burglaries across southeastern Wisconsin, of all places, has prompted a coordinated law enforcement response and drawn political attention on both of the local and national levels. And so this is now becoming a big deal because the incentive to steal is dramatically increasing right now because of the economy, because of the number of people that are hurting. The incentive to do harm, to do stealing, to find other ways to make to do something different. The pressure is ridiculous. Okay. So this is what makes this a very dangerous time. The middle class is buckling under almost 5 years of persistent inflation, and it's really, really hitting. Workers are growing tired of the economy in which everything seems to get more expensive. Of course, the dollar is losing value by the day. So again, that's part of the challenge. This is the Wall Street Journal, so I only go so far, but higher prices have dragged down the American consumer as a result of the economy and a result of the central bank digital dollar that doesn't, or the central bank dollar that is losing value internationally. And so there are some serious, what they're calling deadly signs of the U.S. economy. Parts of the America's economy are already in deep trouble, and the weakness could drag the whole country into recession. Well, I think that's ridiculous because I think we're already in a recession. So that's just nuts that they're saying we're going to go into a recession. You guys got to stop believing that. We are already there. When describing the health of the U.S. economy, there's a temptation among economists, market analysis, and politicians to argue that the only true picture of our current situation is a sweeping portrait. Oh my gosh, they love to wax eloquent. Right now, the economy seems okay on the surface. GDP growth has been running north of 3% for the last 2 quarters. Oh, you're so full of it. And in the labor market, the boilerplate appears to be that conditions are gradually cooling. Wow. Here's reality. Let's get real. AI changed the game, and it came right on the back of crypto. You got crypto and you got AI, both driving a massive amount of business and contracts and things through that space. So a lot of the economy shifted from analog to digital because that's where people were making money. Okay. So as a result of that switch over, and they're not coming back, guys, well, no matter how mad people get about it, no matter the articles people do about, oh, crypto's evil and oh, AI's, evil, whatever, they don't care. They're going to keep using it. Okay. Just like you understand. So you're not going to see this turn around. So if you're waiting for AI to stop, and if you're waiting for crypto to stop, no, they will keep going until they put this country in the toilet. Okay. They will run more data centers than we have electricity for. They will all sit around playing with their in their mochaccino worlds, drinking their fake milk and fake meat and fake eggs. Okay. While they play with their AI. I'm not even joking with you right now. And they have an existential crisis in power that is erupting now as a result of that, because we already had a strained power grid, but everybody wants to play with their AI. So now they're going to keep doubling down on that, because after all, when you're impoverished, sometimes the only thing you have is your little device. Just saying. So this is part of what they're doing. And folks, we need answers, not just placation, right? So, but this is really an important thing that you're aware of. So because the economy is struggling, just going grocery shopping, anything could be a problem. So holiday crime fears are growing as jugging thieves target shoppers carrying cash and gifts, only a matter of time. The criminals follow victims from ATMs and banks to steal cash and purchases during busy shopping season. So they'll follow someone that's gone to an ATM. They'll follow them. Authorities throughout the country are warning shoppers to remain vigilant ahead of their holiday errands, as thieves are turning to popular crime trends to make off with quick cash. The trend, nicknamed jugging, involves criminals following victims from ATMs, banks, or stores in an effort to steal their cash or new purchases, according to the FBI. Law enforcement officers typically see a rise in incidents around the holiday season, so this is normal. And adding to this is now the pressure of the economy, right? So with shoppers often walking around with large sums of cash or high-cost gifts. So you're walking around with assets that are expensive. That's making you a crime target. So again, and you may say, "Well, I don't keep those. I don't do that." It doesn't matter. You're going out to grocery shop or buy some socks at Walmart. You could just as easily be targeted. So might be a good idea to avoid some of these other more popular areas for a little while. Let the people get through whatever they're going to go through, because it's not wise to be mingled in that. So I'm just letting you know that there's some danger going on there. And now moving back to the economy. Again, the economy is what's driving a lot of these things, guys. So apparently jugging, I'll get back to that story, involves criminals following victims from ATMs. So here it is. Criminals following victims from ATMs, banks, or stores in an effort to steal their cash or new purchases. That's now called jugging. I think it's got something to do with the fact that you're juggling food or juggling things or something like that, maybe. I don't know. But something to keep an eye on and something to think about, because I do believe it's a critical issue at this time, guys. I mean, I do think that, our adversary is trying desperately to cause a lot of consternation in the world, right? And so I just do believe that we need to be very sober and vigilant. I'm going to go ahead and put the comments on the screen here. I kind of like that. I like being able to keep an eye on that. Ooh, let's make them big. That's even good. That's even better. All right, moving on. Let's see here. And here's the other part of this that was really, really alarming to me. And this is one of the things that this article really points out. And it's telling us that this situation isn't something that's likely to get better anytime soon. These are big, big issues that are coming up. Remember, we talked last week about the amount of cars that are being repossessed and how many repossessed vehicles we have. Well, now there's a housing alarm going on, folks. I don't know if you've heard about that. But half of U.S. homes fall in value in the biggest drop since the Great Recession. Well, I'm going to say it's depression time, guys. Home values are falling for more than half of America. The biggest, I told you, because people aren't buying them. They got no choice but to bring those prices down, and they're suddenly realizing the reality. The biggest share since the country was still clawing its way out of the Great Recession. New data from Zillow shows that 53% of U.S. homes have lost value over the past year. 53%. Okay, that's ridiculous when you really think about it. The highest level since 2012, when the housing crash finally hit bottom. The national market looks flat on paper, but the average masks huge differences between regions, cities, and even neighborhoods. Prices have been slipping in much of the South and West as more homes hit the market and buyers stay on the sidelines. So there's the other thing is it's not just that home prices are dropping. It doesn't matter. No one's buying them even when the prices drop. What? This is what's going on now, folks. We've got a serious situation in our country. And again, it's because we stayed too long in our analog thinking and didn't realize that the world was going digital. And if you didn't switch, you were going to suffer. Well, as much as the warnings were out there, it doesn't matter. Now we've got some serious crisis going on as everyone is hunkering down. The affordability crisis is rattling even the mom and pop shops. So a lot of the small businesses, sorry about that. And again, CNN now wants us to subscribe in order to show their article. But they were showing mom and pop stores. The part that I was able to read earlier, mom and pop stores who are not able to survive. They're going under all over the place. Okay. And so many times these smaller businesses depend on communities and depend on their customer base coming from within the area. But if they're just barely making their mortgage payments and barely making their electrical payments, how much shopping are they going to be doing at the small boutique businesses? Not much. They're lucky if they can get out of Walmart with their shopping list. Okay, so much less going to small business. So this is seriously causing some serious problems, and this is something that we need to be very, very careful about. And so again, domestically, pray for your brethren. We have some solutions that we're talking about. And we're going to be sharing at the end of the broadcast. But we are just one house. I mean, this is a major, major issue going on in the world. This is big, and I believe it needs to be addressed by the remnant. Because I don't know anybody else is going to care enough about people to solve things like that. Switching gears, the country has had a lot of conversation about the Epstein files. Have you been one of those people wanting to know more about the Epstein files and what's in the Epstein files? Maybe you're one of those people that were interested in that. I don't know. But apparently, Trump just signed a bill ordering the U.S. Justice Department to release those files. So the controversy seems to have been to be ending. U.S. President Donald Trump said he signed a bill that orders the release of the government files of the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, a significant turning point in months-long fight over the documents. And so apparently they must have scrubbed what they needed to scrub. So now he's ready to let them go. Because I'm not buying this. Are you buying this? The Justice Department now has 30 days to publicly share all information from the federal investigation into Epstein. However, it can withhold files that relate to active criminal investigations or are deemed to invade personal privacy. That's all they had to have. And in a major reversal, Trump dropped his opposition to the measure last week after pushback from Epstein's victims and members of his own Republican Party. So all they had to do was change the rules just a little bit. So anything that was considered private would be taken out. Moving on. So what happens? The FBI deploys police to guard the facility where Epstein's files are being stored. Gee, I don't know why. Officers were tasked with guarding the building and personnel after some social media comments call for protests and other methods to secure the files if names are scrubbed from the document. Gee, I wonder if they had the same thought I had. No, I don't know where they would get such an idea. I mean, gosh. Welcome back to another edition of the FOIA Files. The frenzy about the Jeffrey Epstein files has heated up online over the past few days. At least that's the way the Federal Bureau of Investigation has interpreted some comments on social media. So they're being protective, which I think probably makes some sense. But I think this thing is laughable. The fact of the matter is this is a huge, huge issue because if you have government officials under threat of some sort, if you have those in supposed power, but they're really under somebody else's power because somebody's got some compromising material on them, compromat, as they used to call it, right? Compromat. Do you have compromat on you? Well, that's dangerous stuff, guys. I mean, it's a serious thing. This is not a minor thing. So to act like it's no big deal, what are you, nuts? How would you like it if you found out that your boss at work is actually under the control of somebody else because they got compromat on them? That would change the way you relate to that person. So come on. Don't tell me it's not a big deal. It's a huge deal. And the way they're slow walking this to the public tells you there's no intention whatsoever to actually fix whatever is in those files or whatever problems they touch. So we're going to need some additional help in order for that to happen. But nevertheless, I do think it's interesting that that has now been sort of resolved, so we don't have to keep hearing about it all the time. Now, I'm running out of time, so I'm going to hit a couple of these that I really think are important. Here's a story that I think is absolutely reprehensible, and it's demon fodder. And the people that are doing this are going to be demonized. And you got to be really careful with these social media trends and these things that people think are popular and what have you. And I know nobody watching this broadcast is going to do this, but you should still be aware that there are people that are going to do this, and it's sick. It's beyond sick. Watch this, guys. I'm sorry. I'm going to apologize in advance, all right? Bizarre skincare trend. I can't believe I'm even seeing this article. Putting this on their faces. Okay? And in the latest skincare trend circling in social media, women have been seen applying their you-know-what to a face mask to achieve what they describe as an unmatchable glow. Okay. Some call this practice spiritual or empowering, tapping into the divine feminine, whilst others are comparing it to vampire facials. Okay? Well, according to the scripture, to even touch a woman who is unclean in this way makes you unclean. So to put it on your face is essentially to invite demonic attack. And so again, this is a really foolish thing to do. I don't know who came up with this as a skin care, whatever. Folks, that's some scary stuff that folks are doing as a normal practice, not thinking anything of it. So again, dangerous times indeed. There's some very serious demonic things that are happening in our world, and we need to be aware as we go around. So we saw some shopping things. Well, be careful when you're friending people and who you friend. Some of these folks are very disturbed, and again, we need to be very sensitive. We need to catch some of these things before they happen. Here's a story that really, really will take your heart. I'm sorry again to have to share this, but parents convicted of decapitating 2 of their children and forcing other kids to view the bodies. This is crazy. So, according to this report, Lancaster, California, authorities in California say a mother and father, not just the mother or not just the father. So, again, we have crossed the Rubicon here, folks. This is a new level of cuckoo. Okay? We've all seen the murder-suicides. We've seen some of the levels of cuckoo. We've gone to a new level here. According to the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office, a jury found Maurice Jewel Taylor Sr. and Natalie Similko Brothwell guilty of 2 felony counts of first-degree murder. Sorry. My apologies. got a sound issue here. Oh, that was my AI on my phone. I'm like, where's that sound coming from? Oh my goodness. So these are some of the things that we're seeing right now. And how far would you go in the name of these things? Or sorry, name of beauty, but that's a different story. So again, married teachers. I'm sorry, a couple. Where did that story go? Did I lose it? I must have. Sorry about that, guys. Hang on with me. Oh, that was weird. Well, anyway, a couple killed their children. So I wanted to make sure I shared that because my goodness, what's going on in our world that people are losing their minds that way. Okay, here's another one that I like to save these. I like to share these because you really should be getting your children out of these situations. A married teacher paid students to supply them with booze, drugs for sex and gets 10 years in prison. Good for her, by the way. Glad you're going to jail. You should go to jail. Okay, a 30-year-old former substitute teacher was sentenced to 10 years in prison on Wednesday after she was convicted of paying middle school. It's not even high school, guys. Middle school students for sex, as well as providing them with drugs and alcohol. So, are we disintegrating? Yes. You're seeing the remnant rising and a disintegration at the same time. So, once again, you're seeing the remnant are rising. They're awakening. You are the remnant, and you're awakening. But you're also seeing a massive disintegration at the same time. Okay, so you're seeing an increase and a decrease at the same time. Very, very scary. So again, I had a few stories about this. A lot of news that we had this week, and much of it was really disturbing. Here's another disturbing story, guys. Man pours liquid on woman and sets her on fire in Chicago subway. What is going on here? Victim was hospitalized in critical condition and suspect taken into custody. But the fact is, the woman is hospitalized. She was literally tortured in public. Okay, so this is crazy that this is going on. I read another story about a man who went to jail for 20 years until they found his wife. They thought that he killed his wife. They found her next door. I kid you not. This just came out. I don't know why I didn't have the story, but it just came out. And the woman was right next door the whole time, 20 years in a basement, chained in the basement, being fed by a neighbor guy. How sick have we gotten? Okay, if you don't think we've got a problem, you're not paying attention. Switching gears, there was a massive false alarm on Mount Rainier. So this is a scary situation. False alarm strikes America's deadliest volcano. It appears strange tremors for the last 72 hours. And so this is for those of you up in the upper Northwest. We've been warning about the Northwest all the way down really to California because that whole West Coast has got some serious geological things going on over there. Mount Rainier in Washington has been sending up a flurry of strange signals for days, briefly raising concerns that something inside the volcano might be shifting. This towering stratovolcano looms over more than 3.3 million people across the Seattle-Tacoma metro area, threatening to cripple entire communities with an ashfall. So again, is it possible for it to go off? Is that something that could happen? And some will say, "Oh no, you're just being, an alarmist and what have you, right?" And so a volcano erupted in Indonesia, just not that far away, sends ash over 6,500 feet into the sky. So no, not crazy. Could happen. Okay, could happen, and that's why I'm bringing it up because we are living in dangerous times. And so for those that are saying, "Oh no, nothing to worry about here," could it happen? Absolutely. The Earth is responding. Something else that we noticed and was prophesied to come. And I love this prophecy because even though it's not perfect and even though these people are still figuring a lot of things out, they're moving in the right direction. So I don't know if the mountain has moved, but I like the direction the rocks are rolling. Somebody say yada yahuwah. Amen. And so look at this, folks. We got hundreds are accepting Mashiach and 6,000 worship at the North Carolina. All glory to God. Now, you may say, well, I don't agree with this. And you guys have moved a lot. You have learned a tremendous amount. You're advanced students in many ways, right? So, of course, these are beginners. They're babies. They're just coming in there and they don't know a lot. They're going to learn. And students of revival movement sweeping college campuses in America as prophesied to come. We saw this coming. It was prophesied, and it would be stadium meetings of revival. That's what I was told. Stadium meetings of revival. You know that? That's what I was told, and that's what I shared. And as a matter of fact, that's exactly what we got. We got stadium meetings of revival going on right now in the United States. And this was hundreds flood to the altar. And this is, again, the danger, guys, folks, because you got to know that they're setting some things up. But nevertheless, just trust the Ruach. He knows what he's doing. And so hundreds flood after the altar to choose Mashiach in the outreach at site, an outreach site, Charlie Kirk's murder. So thousands of people worshiped Mashiach, heard a transformational message about God's unconditional love, and made decisions of faith on Sunday. Well, that's great. And again, we all started here. We all started with, I really want to pursue, right? And then they're going to grow. They're going to learn. They're going to come check with you. As a matter of fact, we just saw on the Evangelist Corner that there's a whole lot of them that are asking new questions now. So guess what? They're going to grow a lot faster than maybe you and I did, because they have the benefit of the remnant now out there, pointing out the areas where demonic infiltration can still occur. And so again, don't be disappointed because you see some people doing their own thing or what have you. Don't worry about that. Or going off and, doing things that you already know you've already gotten correction on, right? It doesn't matter. Just understand that Yahuwah knows how to move. Okay. And so what I see happening here is a good thing. It's a very good thing. And I want to encourage everybody to support, the effort of those that are trying to make their way back to him. And again, they start where they start. So how many of you started there? How many of you started in a place where you would look back right now and think, that was a weird spot. I remember a guy telling me that he started keeping Shabbat. And his first breakfast was bacon and eggs. I'm not joking you. And he told the story like no problem. He's like, yep, that was my first breakfast, keeping Shabbat, bacon and eggs. Until I read that I shouldn't eat bacon. Right? Nobody had to preach to that guy. He figured it out. The same way they'll figure it out too. Give them their scriptures, help them out, point them down the right direction, and let them go. The Ruach knows what he's doing. Amen. And so just be trusting of that, because I think a lot of times we get ourselves a little caught up in wanting people to be just where we are in our walk, right? And we all have seen that. And that just undermines the tremendous amount of effort that you had to do to get where you are. One more story that I want to share. I've got a few others I could have shared, but I'm just going to share this one here because it is an important one. There's an outbreak. 31 infants in 15 states were hospitalized for botulism by tainted formula. So again, because of the seriousness of this, I'm going to share it. November 19th, the number of infant botulism cases linked to consumption of by heart formula, so this is the formula that is suspicious, has grown 31 across 15 states. So the product is a challenge. There's a product issue here. That's too far and too wide an effect area for it to be localized to a particular production facility or a shipping issue. What I believe is happening here in this particular case is that we've got a contamination of the actual product. So those of you that have small children or no family members that have, please let them know in case they might be using this brand. So for the sake of those, my beloved family that have babies, I wanted to make sure we alerted you to that potential hazard that is out there. And that's it for tonight. I am so glad you got through that with me. That was a bit of a bumpy ride. Sorry about that, guys. I appreciate your patience with us on this broadcast. We had a lot to cover there, didn't we? And I know a lot of you are watching as well, the things that are going on. Let's continue to encourage our brothers and sisters, especially in this hour. And in that light, I want to just encourage those of you that would like to participate in a beta test that we are about to start, to reach out to us at remnanthouse.org. Just go ahead and stop on by remnanthouse.org. My email's right on the bottom of the website, so you can find it very easily. You can drop us a note, contact us there, and let us know you'd like to be part of the beta test. And you may say, what's this beta test all about? Well, we have a product that's an automation product, and it will help you with your income generation. So it basically automates income generation using technology with some intelligence and some covenant keeping. And so we want some beta testers. So those that want to test that and those that want to participate in that, please let us know. You can just drop us a note again, at my email. That would be great. And then we are going to be contacting those that sign up for that. And we don't have a sign up form. I'm sorry, folks. I just ran out of time. I was going to put one up and I just ran out of time. I literally ran through this broadcast. So if you want to do that, let me know. Otherwise, I'll have a form tomorrow. But if you want to jump in on it now, let us know. Just reach out to us either on social media or reach out to my email. And again, you'll find it at remnanthouse.org. So go there and get a hold of us and get a hold of that effort, because that is an automation tool. And those that are going to be beta testing it will be coming out with their testimony. So those of you that are participants in that will find it's very effective. It's designed to generate automated income. So that's what it's for. And so if you'd like to beta test that, let us know. We'd certainly love to have you on board. So those of you that want to participate in that, please let us know. And that's it for tonight. I pray this broadcast has been a berakah to you. And I'm so thankful for every one of you that understand the days that we're in and know that we must be a people who remain steadfast, unmovable, unshakable, always abounding unto the work of the Most High Elohim. Thank you so much for joining us. Good night.